Hey everyone, good morning and welcome to Grounded with John Tester and Maritza Giorgio. We'll let some people hop on here, Senator. How you doing this morning?
I am just hunky dory. Thanks. How about you?
It's a Monday morning. We're up early. Why are we up so early?
Because I'm seeding. We got to knock this out before I go on the tractor because it doesn't work so well on the tractor. It's been pointed out the last few times when the signal's been rough. But yeah,
It's been okay. You just found some dead spots. We love our tractor time with Tester.
yeah.
We love our tractor time with Tester.
I could if you want. I can go fire the tractor up. Give me about 45 minutes. We'll get it
Oh
going.
God.
So I can run out and do it if that's what you want.
No, I think since you're there, are you drinking coffee? We're having coffee together.
I'm drinking the last word with Lawrence O'Donnell.
Oh. Good. All right. Well, we are going to have a show then. Today, we have some headlines to get through, and joining us, new to the independent media space, is Scott MacFarlane. You probably know him from CBS News, but he's been a fixture in Washington, D.C. journalism for a long time.
Yeah, he's got a great voice, and he's been a great reporter, by the way. It kinda surprised me when I learned that he had, left CBS and went into independent media. It kinda shows you how the, what do you call them, legacy newscasts are kinda screwed. But it's true, they're losing good reporters. I mean, he's really a good reporter. Of course, a lot of these folks that are doing this stuff on Substack are really, really good people that are smart as hell, and he's one of them.
Yeah, very smart. We're going to talk to him about all kinds of things. I'm excited. I'm excited to have him on. I've looked up to his reporting for a long time. Okay, so should we do some headlines?
Yeah, I think we should.
You know,
Are there any headlines?
well, you know what I just realized is because we're starting so early in Montana, like 6:49 right now in Montana.
Yeah.
I forgot to look this morning at new headlines because I just woke up and got ready to go. But I think I'm not seeing anything huge, so let's just dig into what I wrote late last night. So, lot going on in this conflict in Iran. The U.S. Navy seized an Iranian cargo ship that tried to go around the U.S. blockade. Okay, that's according to a True Social post by the president, Donald J. Trump. Yes, I said those words out loud. That's where we learned of this information. So, JD Vance and others are set to hold another round of peace talks, but it is being reported that Iran um, rejected taking part in those peace talks. So now they're sending, I just looked, the New York Times this morning has on their front page that Iran is sending mixed signals on kind of what comes next. But then I want to point out this beauty of a post from the president, Donald Trump. I'm going to put this up here. Uh, so he goes on and on. This came out on Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, in Washington. Iran decided to fire bullets yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz, a total violation of our ceasefire agreement. That wasn't nice, was it? That's what he said. So then he goes on to say that Iran recently announced they were closing the strait, which is strange because our blockade has already closed it. They're helping us without knowing, and they're the ones that lose with the closed passage $500 million a day. The United States loses nothing. So let's just pick that apart for a second. They closed it first. Then he announced we were putting our own blockade in. He said it's a whole blockade. His military leaders have said, no, no, it's just Iran's coastline and their ports. He keeps saying it's an entire blockade. They did it first. He's saying they did it, that the US did it first. He says then that the United States loses nothing. I don't know if any of you have been to the gas pump lately. That's just one thing, though. That's just one aspect of this. And then at the very end of this, he goes on to threaten more war crimes, saying, "No more Mr. Nice Guy. If they don't take this deal, the United States is going to knock out every single power plant and every single bridge in Iran."
Yeah, you wanna know my response?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I think this really does speak to the fact that the president isn't really leading this charge. I mean, he's doing his stuff on one way, and then you've got the folks in the military that are doing another, and you've got Vance doing another, and you've got probably Rubio doing another. And I'm not sure that Trump really knows what's going on. I just don't. I mean, we've talked about his age, and we saw it happen with Biden, and we're seeing it happen right in front of our eyes. I mean, the truth is for him to say something like the United States doesn't lose anything. Well, either he thinks that it's just okay that the oil companies are making bank on this and that small businesses and working families are getting taken to the cleaners, and that's not important, or he really doesn't understand that we're having major impacts because of his war in Iran. And for Iran to say, well, we're not going to take part in those talks tells me that maybe he's talking about trying to figure out a way to get out of Iran and saying we're going to hold these peace talks, but he's not talking to the folks in Iran about it because it appears that they're rejecting those. They fired on a ship when they were supposed to be open, when the Strait of Hormuz was supposed to be open, and it's just total confusion, in my opinion, on what's going on from the president of the United States, the commander in chief of the United States' perspective, and that's is
Well, and
very disconcerting, quite frankly.
it's confusion on both fronts, and we've talked about this with these 2 players in negotiations. Who do you believe? I
Well,
mean, who do you like, Iran has not been a good actor. I'm actually listening, for my book club, we're reading this book called The Lion Women of Tehran, and I've been listening to it to get my work done all weekend, which I never do, but I've been listening to it, and, it it just paints this picture of everything the Iranian people have been through with bad government for decades and decades and decades. So, the you can't, this is historical fiction, but it's really been interesting to read as we're in this moment and really consider what people there in that country have lived through. And you can't trust Iran. And also, the president goes on True Social lies, just completely lies and threatens war crimes.
yeah. Look, Iran's been bad nearly my entire lifetime for the last 47 years of it anyway, and they're a known entity, and they're bad folks. The Ayatollahs have been bad. I remember when they first took over in the late '70s, early '80s. The they weren't good then, and they haven't changed at all. I mean, that's what happens. But the truth is, the problem here is this war in Iran has created more problems than it's solved. The energy situation has gone through the roof. It doesn't look like it's going to change much. Oil companies are making a lot of money, and that's what Donald Trump said in the beginning. This isn't all bad, his buddies are going to make a lot of dough. But in the end, there was no exit strategy going in. I'm not sure that they've had a clear idea on what they were doing. So the nuclear enterprise in Iran had already been decimated by the president's own words. So I don't know what's going on. They were going to have regime change. That doesn't happen because you say it's going to happen. It happens because there has to be work done around that to have that happen. Obviously, that's not happening. If anything, the regime has gotten worse, not better. And so, the president is got himself in a bucket of tar, and he didn't know how to figure out how to get the hell out of it. And quite frankly, now that he's in it, I can't tell you how he's going to get out of it. I have no idea because Iran has not been a good actor for a long time. But this is not the way to do it. The JCPOA was the way to do it, to try to empower the people who have a brain in that country who have been abused for the last 50 years. But he ripped that up the first day in and said, we're going to have a better deal. And that ended up with the war in Iran. And now uh, he'd be lucky to get something half as good as the JCPOA. By the way, the JCPOA was the deal that Obama cut with Iran that Trump went apeshit about and ripped it up the first couple days he was in office. And now we're in this condition because you've got a person that hasn't read his history, that doesn't know what's going on, and has a bunch of people around him, maybe with the exception of one. Maybe JD Vance is the only one that told him the truth. The rest of them didn't say anything or said, "Go ahead, Mr. President, put lives and treasure on the line in Iran because we have a clear mission there and an exit strategy," none of which were true.
And I think it's important, it's being noted in our comment section. This is also is pre-Ayatollah. I mean, the Iranian people were not exactly happy with the Shah.
No,
There was a lot that happened under the Shah too, and we have been involved with our hand in this for a very, very long time. But that's history for another day. I want to get to our next headline. Um, I could read it to you, Senator. I could read it to you, but it has to do with an address from Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. So I'm going to play you the part that's making a lot of news.
Our former strengths, based on our close ties to America, have become our weaknesses, weaknesses that we must correct. Workers in our industries most affected by U.S. tariffs, in autos, in steel, in lumber, are under threat. Businesses are holding back investments, restrained by the pall of uncertainty that's hanging over all of us. The U.S. has changed, and we must respond. Canada Strong is our plan to build Canada by Canadians for Canadians. Will attract new investment so we can build more for ourselves, striking new partnerships abroad so we can sell into new markets. It's about taking back control of our security, our borders, and our future. There are some who say there's no need for a comprehensive plan. They believe we should wait it out in the hope that the United States will return to normal, that the good old days will come back. But hope isn't a plan, and nostalgia is not a strategy.
Woo! So, wait it out in the hope the US will return to normal. He says that's not a plan and they need a different plan.
it isn't a plan. And this is exactly what our allies all over the world are doing. They're cutting deals with other countries, see China, for example, because those are the ones, China's the one that's predictable in the world right now. We're not. And we're losing our status as the number one country, number one world, number one country, number one military, number one everything because of this idiotic goddamn MAGA shit that's coming out of Donald Trump's mind that doesn't understand what's made America great. And what's made America great is our relationships around the world, just like people. If you've got a lot of friends, you are very fortunate. If you have no friends, see Donald Trump, then you're at the bottom of the heap. He's at the bottom of the heap and he's taken his country right down with him. And I don't think you can plan on things coming back to normal. I think Carney's right. I think you've got to have your own plan. And I think the EU is doing the same thing. And everybody's doing the same thing. I've said for a while, when we lose the reserve currency, it's a problem. Well, we're already seeing business being done in the yuan, not using the American dollar. And that's going to increase because there's no predictability on this country's part. And that's what Carney was saying. There's no predictability from the US. You can't depend on him anymore because we've got a leader who's fucking nuts. And that's the truth. And we got a bunch of people around him who aren't smart enough to understand that he's taking his country in the wrong direction.
When to call their former strengths weaknesses because of their close ties to America. That's quite a statement. Okay, I see our guest in the waiting room, but I'm gonna make him wait.
By the way, that's true. That's true. When you become a boat anchor, your strength becomes a weakness. And we've become a boat anchor on many of these countries' economies because of the tariffs, because of our lack of ability to support people. And it's a changing world, and it's not for the better. And the next president of the United States, assuming we have another president of the United States, has got an incredible amount of work cut out for him to get this country back on the right track.
Quick headline here before we bring Scott in. Well, maybe one and a half headlines because they're about the same person. I want to put up this FBI Director Kash Patel is threatening to sue The Atlantic over a shocking story it reported this weekend. It outlined alleged drinking habits and patterns that sources described as a management failure and a national security vulnerability, with a lot of claims about his excessive drinking. And here's a quote from this story. Early in his tenure, meetings and briefings had to be rescheduled for later in the day as a result of his alcohol fueled nights. Six current and former officials and others familiar with Patel's schedule told the author, told the journalist. Then on Sunday, Kash Patel went on Fox News to say, in addition to saying he's going to sue The Atlantic, that the DOJ will soon make arrests related to the 2020 election. The 2020 election that nobody has produced evidence that proves any widespread fraud, despite the big lie, repeatedly echoed by the president and some of his closest allies. And this also comes as the DOJ wrote a letter demanding 2024 election results from a Michigan election official. Michigan AG and the Secretary of State are refusing to comply with that. So a lot to do with Kash Patel there, but let's get your thoughts, and then we'll
We'll
get
start,
started.
we'll start with the booze part. He's director of the FBI. You've got the head of the Department of Defense, Hegseth. They're both known to drink and drink too much. I've got a great thing for them to do. Quit drinking. These are important positions. You need to have a rational mind that's not corrupted by alcohol, and uh, and you should quit drinking, Cash Patel. And the same thing with Hegseth. You should get back to sobriety because that's how you're going to make the best decisions. As far as the big lie and what's been done by the president, this is exactly why Kash Patel got put into the position as director of FBI, even though obviously he's got a problem with alcohol. That didn't matter to the president. He just wanted somebody to go after his political enemies and prove that he did not lose the 2020 election, by the way, which is a big lie. So, this is what happens. I said early on with this cabinet, you'd be hard pressed to find folks that were more ill prepared to take on the challenges of this country. And we've seen it. We've seen it with Kash Patel. We've seen it with the Secretary of Defense. They both have a problem with alcohol. It's both been very well documented. And to go through the courts to say, well, we're going to deny reality by taking you to court is total bullshit. And these folks need to quit drinking. That's what they need to do. And maybe they'll get their minds back and understand that what they're doing is not in the best interest of this country.
Okay. Well, on that note, I think it's a great, great time to bring in our guest. Hey, we want to welcome to the conversation Scott MacFarlane. Scott hosts MacFarlane Reports here on Substack, and he's also the chief Washington correspondent for the Midas Touch Network. Hey, Scott, how are you?
That's fantastic, and I'm sorry if I'm late to the party. Can the senator please explain the shirt so I know what it means?
So what this shirt is it's my work shirt. Okay, so if you're a U.S. senator, Scott, and you probably get this in the media, everybody gives you a hat, and a T-shirt. Okay, at least they
No, we don't get that in the media.
at least they did me too. And so the one underneath is getting kind of tattered.
Mm.
But it has been cold, although it's going to change tomorrow. It's going to be 80 degrees here. But so I've put on two shirts, and it just happens that a guy who smokes cigars has a shirt that says "Protect Fake Lungs" on it. So
Project Pink Lips.
that's it. That's it. That's,
All right. Well, to be clear, I'm gonna need one of those. We'll talk after.
You
okay.
never know. That's the beauty of this show, Scott, is you show up, you never know what you're gonna get. You never know what John Tester's gonna say out of his mouth. You never know what clothes he's gonna be wearing. You never know if he's got, secret sauce in his coffee.
Mm.
Well, of course you do. It's early in the morning, but but I want to start out. Can I start out, Maritza? Is that okay?
Well, yeah, okay. That's fine.
So Scott MacFarlane, I mean, when I served in DC, you were a big deal and still are a big deal. Um, Worked for CBS, was kind of the top dog there, and you decided to go the independent touch. Tell me what went into that decision. Why did you make it, and what went into it?
Two different things. First of all, I think it's unprecedented for better or for worse, for anybody to quit the job of network television correspondent. People aspire for those jobs, myself included, for many, many years. I worked 25 years to get to that point. So to quit it voluntarily and unilaterally could be a tough decision, but it really was not a tough decision once you get to the other side. Independent journalism isn't the future. Independent journalism is the now. We get direct access to people. They could tell us what they think, what they want us to ask, what they want us to pursue, what they think we should be focused on, and we could go ahead and just do it. And we could tell them plainly, declaratively, conversationally what's happening without the freaking bells and whistles of television and theme music and big studios and lights and makeup artists. How about we just talk and tell you what the news is without waiting till 4:30 Mountain Time, 6:30 Eastern every single night. Feels outmoded and outdated. And that was my basic concept. But the second issue was, um, we're in a different time now, and I find myself frustrated by all, and I mean all of legacy media for
Mhm.
platforming misinformation. It feels like muscle memory for the major cable outlets and some of the networks, radio, to carry the president and carry him live. And some of that is such malicious lying that carrying it, platforming it, lets that type of cancerous misinformation, Senator, seek into the ecosphere of American information. And I think that's why so many of us have buddies or colleagues or neighbors who believe the 2020 election was rigged or believe January 6th was staged or these other malicious lies because they're being platformed. And you can't interrupt the president mid speech to say, no, that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. So if you're going to carry it, you're now part of the issue. You're now part of you're
Mhm.
now part of platforming misinformation.
So is this, I would say this is unique to this president. That's what I would say, but you've been on the Hill for a long, long time. Has this been going on for a long, long time, or you've had somebody that gets up and just I mean, it used to be if a politician lied, it was a kiss of death. I mean, I'm telling you. I mean,
If they were caught in it.
if you're caught in a lie is bad. This guy lies, and people expect it. Is it did this flip in 16, or has this been slowly getting worse and worse and worse?
I think it's been quickly getting worse. I think we hit an inflection point on January 7, 2021, where there were apologists showing up to excuse an insurrection and the incitement of an insurrection, and they still voted the early morning of January 7, 2021. You remember this. They still voted to decertify the 2020 electors. And that to me really broke such a public trust and such a fundamental fidelity to truth. And are we going to pretend like we didn't watch it on television, the insurrection? Like we didn't just see it? We're going to deny that it happened or ignore that it happened? Once that boundary was broken, Senator, I think we have rapidly descended into both sidesism. We've rapidly descended into misinformation, winning the day, and we've rapidly descended into put the blindfolds on and cheer for your team. And when you got here in 2006, when I covered those midterms, remember what was fatal? George Allen being caught on a camera phone saying something untoward. This is the type of thing the president might say several times a day now. It ended
Yeah,
George Allen's career.
yeah,
Remember when people would quit the Congress because there was an accusation of infidelity? Now
yeah.
you've got to force them out or, or shame them out or maybe expel them out. And I think we've so demeaned the public discourse and the way we carry ourselves in Washington that it's no surprise everybody everybody dislikes Washington right now.
My last question for you, flip it to Marie. What w how do you fix it?
Hey, we're gonna get to all that. You are jumping ahead of us
I'm
of the
sorry,
flow.
I'm sorry, but
I love that
I
question,
mean,
though.
he just laid out
No, I know.
the
I
rise
know.
of democracy, so how do we fix it?
This is what I tell my kids. This is what I tell my teenage sons who are not looking forward to being American voters and American adults if this toxicity continues.
Same with my son. Absolutely, same with my son.
So I tell them both before they move to Canada on me to go to college that there's going to be a political mandate on somebody to run, campaign, and promise to fix this crap. The next person who gets in there may have a mandate from the American public during a general election in 2028 to say, we're going to restore norms. We're going to restore the independence of the Department of Justice. We're going to take presidents' names off things that Congress hasn't approved the names being on. We're going to stop pardoning people because they're famous or because they like me or because they donated to me. We're going to restore the norms. And that will be the political mandate that gets that person over the top, wins the election, and they better deliver on that, or their presidency is going to fail really quick. Perhaps that's aspirational, but I think that's coming eventually. I just hope it comes in 2028.
I think it's a great point. I want to pull on a thread though, because this drives me insane too, Scott. I mean, so many people will say, well, you're a leftist or you're part of a liberal news outlet. And we have this conversation to break it down, but they think that being biased means if you don't both sides J6, or if you don't both sides climate change, like basic scientific facts that that scientists around the globe agree on. And what I tell people is that traditional journalism rules just don't apply with the way our two-party system sits right now, because you have, yes, they're both two parties and two wings on the same bird, but there is one side right now that has a leader that goes on through social and puts out whatever stream of consciousness is going through his head at the moment, and it's usually like inundated with lies, and then we platform it like you said. And so you have to fact check those things, because so many people just take what he says at face value and they don't ever look into it more.
The both sidesing of this political moment is why so many media organizations are dying. Um, you can see linear legacy media hemorrhaging audience. Some of the weaker players in local communities are hemorrhaging audience faster. Some of the national players are too. And part of that is the economics of media, but part of that is Americans are smart. Don't give them enough credit. They know a lie when they hear it, and they don't understand why certain media organizations are giving it oxygen and both sizing things for which there are not two sides. They are going to turn away from media organizations that they believe are perpetuating the problem and go ravenously looking for some other place to get their news. And yeah, independent journalists are clearly filling that void. You can see the growth charts on independent journalists. It's not because just of the technology advancing, it's because people are starving for truth, reality, and an inability to both sides of nonsense.
Yeah, I think there's this like favorite quote, and I don't even know who said it, but the whole if someone says it's raining, another person says it's not your job to quote them both. It's your job to go outside and see what it's doing to see which one is true, and that's kind of where we are. Let's talk about J6 though, because that's when you first came really heavily on my radar, and I don't think you'd moved to CBS yet, but you meticulously tracked every single case. And I was in this very office. I was working for a local station. I remember on January 6th watching in horror. My son was at home because it was COVID and he was homeschooling. And I remember watching everything unfold in horror, wondering if we were going to see lawmakers killed on live television. Um, and after that, Scott, I remember going to your Twitter page and watching your reporting every single day to learn what was happening. I'm wondering, I know this is an ongoing story, but if you can just talk to us about how that moment changed your trajectory and changed you as a person.
It is an ongoing story. It's a kinetic, real, current story, and I'll explain why in a moment. The scariest moment for me, and perhaps Senator Tester would agree, wasn't just the fighting and assaulting and beating of police. What scared me and what spooked me the most was seeing these jabronis at the Senate dais, sitting in the Senate president's chair. That's when I knew something was about to fall or fail. Because yeah, as somebody who covers the Senate, you can't just bring your phone in there. The rules, there's security, there's so much protocol to even step foot in that place. To see
Right.
people having taken it over and going through desks and taking papers, that scared the hell out of me. I'm like, this thing's about to collapse if we don't see an improvement really quick. Thankfully, we did. So at that moment, I decided this is going to become um, an enormous criminal prosecution because everybody in that building is breaking the law. Everybody in that Senate chamber is committing a federal offense because you can't just go in there. Not to mention the guys beating federal police officers, and we weren't sure if all the police officers were going to survive. So we knew it was a big story. Here's the problem I discovered quickly. There's 1,500 plus defendants, all of them going through the Washington, D.C. federal courthouse. That's where the crime was committed in Washington. And we had to cover all of them because even the small cases revealed things about that day and the future of America. Even the little misdemeanor cases had things in it, had little quirks to them that showed you people hadn't turned the page on Trump. The fever hadn't broken. These people still think the 2020 election was rigged. They think they're wrongfully being prosecuted for trying to save Trump's victory in 2020. They were certain they were going to get pardoned. I had people challenging judges in the courtroom during their trials saying, "Don't worry, I'm going to get pardoned. This whole thing's a sham." I think they were right. They were going to get pardoned. They viewed this all as a sham. But most troublingly, what's got us to this moment is that there were only a couple of us, and there were a small handful of us covering these cases. It should have been a national obsession that every major media organization invested in because by not doing so, by leaving it to just a few of us knuckleheads out there, you let Trump whitewash the history because you didn't pay enough attention to the prosecutions where the truth of January 6th existed. You know how many people were convicted by juries for their roles in a January 6th? 100% of the jury said, "These guys did it. We are watching the video. We're hearing the testimony. We're seeing the social media posts. They authored themselves about their crime. This is easy. This takes like 20 minutes. Guilty, guilty, guilty." And the political dialogue now, which has prevailed, is that these were all fiction, that the jurors must have been in on some type of scheme or that there was something doctored along the way. We needed, as major media organizations, all to invest in that. Shouldn't have just been me and a couple guys. And I'll admit that my coverage of January 6th afforded me opportunities to work nationally and to tell the story broadly. It still was just a few of us. And how was that not an obsession of the American media? A crime and it is in a horrific moment unlike anything seen since 18 freaking 12. And we're sending Scott down there with his notebook. I don't get that. I think that's why we are where we are now.
So, there are some, and I don't wanna pivot away from any of this because part of the problem, I think, because of the news coverage is I don't know that a lot of the folks around know why January 6th was important. I mean, they saw people run into the Capitol, and you're right, it was horrific to see those folks climbing up the walls of the United States Senate, which is a incredibly, um, let's just it holds a place in my heart that deserves total respect from everybody who walks through those doors. And there wasn't a lot of respect given that day, but a lot of folks don't know why January 6th was even a big deal because we don't teach civics in school anymore. And so who the hell cares what happened on January 6th? It was no big deal. It was why are these guys even going to jail when in fact you and I and Maritza, we all know that this was about a peaceful transfer of power that the person who lost thought he could he could void that. And so um is part of this bigger than just the news media reporting? Is part of this we got to teach the citizenry of this country that what a democracy even is anymore? Because you got the president of the United States sends a vice president to 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 campaign Orban for God's sakes.
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, really? I mean, we right wing dictators is what we're about now as a country. I mean, I mean, just give me your thoughts on any of that shit.
Well, it's such a stain on American democracy and American government. It has not been erased. If you see the fractures that transcends even the ones you witnessed, Senator, that are existing in Congress right now. That's why we're in middle shutdowns. They can't even talk to each other right now. They can't
Right.
even do baseline blocking and tackling. And it all goes back to January 7th, 2021, when Democrats saw democracy nearly fall, run for their lives with both parties getting evacuated to safety, then see Trump's allies in Congress still vote to decertify and then deny January 6th happened. That is a divorce waiting to happen between the parties in Washington because they can't reconcile those differences. They can't. It was such a preposterous thing to deny January 6th happened, to acquit Trump at his impeachment trial for January 6th, and to reelect him to office. The only way his allies here in Washington seem to be able to surmount this enormous hurdle is to just pretend it didn't happen. We don't talk about it. We don't honor the date when the anniversaries come up. We don't speak about the police. We don't hang the plaque unless we're forced to. We don't, it didn't happen, guys. Pretend it didn't happen because there's no way to excuse it. There's no way to alibi what happened that day. These are the same members of Congress, Senator, that have to walk past those cops every day. And the cops
Mhm.
know that the senators didn't have their backs when times got tough. They didn't back the blue, and that is an irreconcilable difference. And in terms of civics and students, I'm really glad you brought that up. Marisa will appreciate this as the mother of boys of a certain high school age. They take history classes in school. They're racing against the clock so much. The history teachers are lucky to get to Vietnam before the calendar school year ends. They never get to 9/11, Obama, Great Recession. They'll never get to 2021. This thing's gonna be memory hold by grown folks, and kids will never know about it unless we do something to change that. And that's why I argue January 6th is a ongoing kinetic story that people should be paying attention to, and why I was deeply disappointed on January 6th, 2026, when I saw so little coverage of it.
Mhm. I will give my son's, social studies teacher props because she's one of his favorite teachers, and she really is so great at connecting the dots. I mean, if they watched Hamilton and connecting the dots of why Hamilton matters in today's conversation. Um, yeah, I think too, I have a tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene I was gonna pull up in a second, but this is one of those things that is, something I'm reconciling with as we see this fracture in MAGA right now, whether it's over Iran, whether it's over Epstein, whether it's over, you name it, the Pope or the AI picture is Jesus. There are still people who are mad about Jesus, the Jesus picture, not Jesus, sorry. Sorry. They're not mad about Jesus, they're mad about the Jesus picture. Um, but they're still parroting J6 stuff. And, uh, I'm waiting for them to have this moment of like, "Oh, wait, if he's doing that about this, maybe I can't believe everything he told me about January 6th." It's actually I'm just, waiting for that moment to hit them.
I wanted to ask the senator about this because we're
Yeah.
we're gonna watch a whole bunch of people try to pull a John Tester circa 2006. We're gonna watch a whole bunch of Democrats try to aspire to win states that they don't that the broader public doesn't think they can win. People
What a
haven't
great
talked.
point. What a great way of saying that. Pull a John Tester.
So how the hell do you do that? Like, Senator, how do you if you're a Democrat in Texas, a Democrat in Florida, don't forget about those guys running statewide. If you're a Democrat running in a state that is believed to be red, at this moment, do you break through by dunking on Trump, or do you talk about something else? Do you avoid January 6th and Trump and lies and talk about gas prices? What do you do to break through?
I don't think you avoid January 6th, but I don't think that's the first thing out of your mouth. I think the first thing out of your mouth is corruption. I think most people think that both parties are corrupt. Truthfully, look, I've got my own opinion. I think Trump is as corrupt as they come, and I won that election in 2006. It had to do with corruption. I think the same thing applies now, and I think any candidate that's out there should be talking about policies that they're going to put forth that ends corruption. A stock trading ban would be a great start, but there's a lot of other stuff you could do. And then absolutely, I would talk about gas prices, and I would talk about the debt, and I would talk about the things that people are concerned about: inflation, healthcare. And I would have policies, and I know this is not something that you're supposed to do as somebody who's running for office, but concrete policies on what you would fight for if you got into office that would help make those things more affordable in the case of healthcare or gasoline, and would make it easier for families and small businesses to be able to exist. The Democrats do a lot of things wrong, I will tell you that. They do a lot of things right, and they never talk about what they do that's right. And so you need to go out and talk about it. But I would, if I was on the stump, I would start with corruption because everything out there shows you that people don't see any difference between Democrats and Republicans. They think the whole goddamn works is corrupt. And look, I've been out of the system now for a year and a half. There's plenty of things that point to the system is not good from a corruption standpoint. So I think you got to be purer than a Boy Scout and talk to your constituents about it. The other thing is that people think you can win elections on computers. You can't. It takes shoe leather, and it takes a lot of folks out there helping you. And you got to go out and have to have a good run campaign. And you go out and you got to talk to people. You got to talk to them eyeball to eyeball, even if it's hard, even if they're ripping your face off. You're still out there doing it because everybody that's watching that person is trying to make an ass out of you, doing it very unfairly, is saying, that dude's got backbone or that gal's got backbone,
Mm.
and I'm gonna vote for her because she was willing to go into the fire and take the questions and get out. And right now, there's way too many politicians that aren't willing to have town hall meetings. They're not willing to go to Kiwanis meetings. They're not willing to go talk to the Rotary. They just wanna buy their ads on TV and move on, and it's a huge mistake. And by the way, I got sucked into it too. I mean, that's the way campaigns have been run for the last 40, 50 years, and so that's the way you do it. I think you do it different this time. I don't think you take PAC money. I think you don't try to raise more money than God. You focus on going out and talking to people about issues they're concerned about. It starts with corruption.
And Marisa, I think what's feeding and fueling this universal frustration with Washington, no matter one's party, is when you see a moment like we saw last week, where you have these members of Congress accused of sexual misconduct who cannot
Mm.
sustain their offices while accused of that. They can't focus on the job. They lose credibility during the fight against the allegations. They got to go. But it's cynical for them both to stand down at the same time. It's some type of bipartisan,
Backroom
universal
deal. Yes.
backroom deal. Thank you. And it
Yes.
looks like such a Congress thing to do versus doing the right thing. That's the kind of thing that gets people pissed at
Yep.
everybody.
Yeah,
Yep.
you give us one of it's like a hostage deal. Give us one of yours and we'll give you one of ours. Like it was absolutely insane to watch. Okay, Scott, I have some rapid fire. Oh, go ahead.
One, because I didn't answer Scott's question on Trump. I wouldn't badmouth Trump. I wouldn't talk about what a horrible person he is. What I'd talk about are the policies that he's put in that
Mm.
have been horrible. Tariffs have been a prime example. Reducing Medicare and SNAP and all those things. Look, most people in this country still care about people who have hard times, and I think that if you're out there talking about that, they may not make the connections initially, but you don't need to have them make the connections. You're not running against Trump. You're running against the person that's for the Senate or the House or county commissioner or whatever, and talk about how you're going to try to fix it. I think that's really the bottom line. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Rachel.
That's okay. Scott might not like what I'm about to put up on the screen, but I do want to get your take on it. And you can simply say, I'm waiting for more information. I mean, I don't know how, you're a professional. I don't have to tell you what to say. But I want to ask you about something that came out this weekend.
Great.
Of course, there's been chatter about this for quite some time, but this weekend, a voice came into this conversation that I think is worth at least talking about. Scott, you were in Butler, Pennsylvania
Mhm.
at the rally where the assassination attempt happened against Donald Trump. And there's a lot of new noise about this because of this post from Marjorie Taylor Greene this weekend that basically says that we need more answers about what happened. And she highlighted this thread from a woman who was a delegate, and basically raised a lot of questions about, like, why don't we know more about this? What about the firefighter who was killed? How come they're not getting more answers about how this all went down? Why don't we ever hear the president talk about it? So I just want to see if you have any commentary on that conversation.
Let me just say unequivocally, Butler was a horror. Um, Hearing children scream, 'cause there
Mm,
were a lot of kids there, watching a man who just went to watch a political speech.
yeah,
He he rushed to an ambulance and to perish. And to watch political violence up close and
yeah,
personal, it's a really sordid affair. For the thousands of people there, my heart goes out to them because it was hard to be that close to violence. And I actually still text with some of them, some of the Trump supporters who were there, because we have this bond of having to watch this
sure.
thing. It really was awful. I will not speak about the original poster, but I could talk about what Marjorie Taylor Greene's saying there. Um, there's a couple problems, that are gonna leave people very dissatisfied with the answers about Butler. The person who tried to kill Trump is dead, and so
Right.
dead man can't tell a tale here. I mean, there's nothing we can find other than what's public facing or what forensics can find in his computers. That's gonna be it's gonna be unsatisfying from the start, and it has been. We don't really have a good read on what his deal was. But the thing that I think surprises me and is also part of the issue here, not a problem, just an issue, is that Trump doesn't talk about it. I mean, dude tells the same stories over and over again, and some of them, charitably, Maritza Senator, are very boring, and we've heard them all before. He plays the hits unlike any politician I've ever seen, and I've seen some senators who are repetitive, but this guy plays the hits every time. You can almost play bingo every time he talks about
Yep,
hottest country in the world and this is
yep.
disgraceful. Fine, but we didn't talk about it, and I don't presume to know whether he should or shouldn't because I wasn't shot. He was, and I don't pretend to know if he's feeling any trauma or if it's haunting. I don't know. So I don't want to judge that he doesn't talk about it, but because he doesn't talk about it, he leaves this vacuum for Marjorie Taylor Greene to raise questions and suspicions. Um, I think there's maybe an appetite for more answers,
Mhm.
but we don't talk about it. And dude, this
Yeah,
is a modern day assassination attempt. A lot of people watched on live television, and we don't talk about it. That's crazy to me. It
it is
reminds me of
crazy.
January 6th. Like, this is a piece of history we lived through. The next several generations may never see something like we've seen in the last couple of years, but we don't talk about it. Instead, we talk about nonsense, truth social crap.
Well, and she did go on to say that, that she didn't mean to call or that she's not calling it a hoax. She's not calling it a hoax, but there are a lot of questions that deserve public answers, like, the information about the shooter. Did he actually act alone? And, there are a lot of questions being called in, but I think that's the biggest thing for me, Scott, is that for a president who talks about literally every single person who ever wronged him in his eyes or tried to wrong him, he doesn't talk about the guy who shot him.
And for somebody who trades in lots of conspiracy theories and uncorroborated nonsense, he doesn't even as, he doesn't even assume blame to any broader enemy
Yeah.
for this. All of it's
Yeah,
just
that's true.
it's asymmetrical with what Trump's usually about, which is talking about his grievances, talking about his injuries, talking about his life constantly.
Yeah. I have some rapid fire fun questions. Senator, you have anything you wanna say
I
before we do
I have one more. This does have to do with Butler, but I've actually got several more. But um, I think it's going to be an anti-incumbent year, 2026. I think whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, I think that you're going to have to work your butt off to get reelected. What do challengers need to talk about from your perspective? You asked me mine. What do
Hmm.
challengers need to talk about from your perspective to gain the votes of people who want to see him elected?
I love the game plan of challengers who are saying my opponent's gone Washington. Part of the problem, part of the culture. I mean this from both parties. Anybody who's an incumbent should be tarred as an incumbent. They still have the Department of Homeland Security shut down, and nobody seems to care. That's how bad things are here. They can't even talk to each other. This is a wonderful cycle to run as an anti-incumbent, to run as an outsider. But there are two or three issues I don't hear talked about here, and it's crazy to me. They don't talk about data centers. They don't talk about electric and utility costs. Not everybody is only frustrated with gas prices.
Mhm.
They don't talk about what we're paying for electric and what we're paying for college. There are schools out there, brand name schools, including the alma mater of members of Congress, that are going to start charging $100,000 a year. Do you know what that means to a parent scraping out an income who doesn't want to say no to his or her daughter or son when they want to go to a college? If I was a challenger, I would not marinate myself, even when asked by reporters in the issues of Washington and the talk of Trump's this and his Truth Social that and Epstein here and that. No, talk about the issues that are keeping me up at night. And this is a wonderful time to say, my opponent's obsessed with Washington. I'm obsessed with this, fixing this. And I don't think Democrats have a full recognition of how vulnerable their incumbents might be in this cycle, too.
I agree.
Wow.
By the way, I agree with that. I think it's anti-incumbent. I think Republicans have a disadvantage, more of a disadvantage because of Trump than Democrats do. But I do think any Democrat takes it for granted just because they're from a state that they've been reelected before. Big mistake. Big
I think that's good messaging too, Scott. And I didn't know this, but you worked on Capitol Hill before you were a journalist, right?
I
Like
was
you
a
worked in policy?
congressional staffer, a communications director. I loved it. It was just before Senator Tester got there. Apparently, his arrival was a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, you left. You're
I
like, I'm out of here.
It was in those bipartisan, there were specks of bipartisanship in the Congress in 2004 when I worked there. I was with the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, and it was a uniquely bipartisan, time because what I worked on was that baseball steroids hearing. Remember when Mark McGwire and Sammy
Yes.
Sosa and all those baseball players went before Congress? There's no partisanship in the room, but they needed some folks with media background to help with, operations and doing some of the bipartisan stuff after. Maybe I liked it so much because I wasn't a partisan and I wasn't involved with kind of the fierceness and the ferocity of messaging that way. But it was the closest thing to college I've ever found because everybody is energized. We're pulling all nighters. We're working as a team. We're going out for drinks after. It really felt like something. It had camaraderie that the media doesn't quite have that camaraderie. Barista and senator
Yeah,
major media, sadly, your biggest competitors are your own colleagues,
I
and that's a
know.
that's a tough culture, it's a tough dynamic.
It is. I never felt that way, but I never felt that way about my colleagues, but I felt it from colleagues throughout the years for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, absolutely. You're so
Sorry for
right.
the long answer in rapid fire round, but I love my
No,
time in
that
Congress.
no, that
I
actually
adored it.
wasn't part of the rapid fire. But yeah, I mean, let me just how do you feel? You've been in independent media for like what, a little over a month? Like, how do you feel? You feel good?
It's remarkably liberating because I don't have to wait till 6:30 PM on the East Coast if I've got news and I wanna reach a few
Yeah,
million people. I could just tell you right now, and that's you can't beat that.
yeah. Okay, rapid fire. You started something called Happy Hour where you go over the news with a cocktail. Can we both come on that?
Yes, you can. Well, how about we book you for later this month? And I tell you, I literally do the show from my bar,
I
so
love it.
we're well
Yeah.
stocked.
We will be ready. We will be ready. Okay, best cafeteria food in the United States Capitol.
In the Capitol or the office
Or
buildings? I'm
sorry, the
sorry. There's a big,
congressional the office buildings. Let's go office buildings.
okay. So, Senator, you may not care about such things, but the Dirksen building has more than just bean soup now. The soups are killer at the Capitol. They are crushingly good. I bet Senator Tester backs me up on that.
They are good. They are outstanding. Their broccoli cream was the best when I was there. Damn, tell you,
It's so
eat
Ooh.
good,
it.
you'll have it in the summer. That's how good it is.
That's right. Eat it by the vat. Yeah, got it.
Okay, if you had to be a member of Congress for a day, which committee would you most want to sit on?
Oh, the oversight committee, in the House is such a romper room of hair pulling, toy throwing, and screaming. I think I would just if I had to do it for a day, at least it'd be fun. No disrespect to the subcommittee on taxation or the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee's look at, Far East Asia. Let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun. Is there a TV I know you watch The West Wing, which I love. But is there a TV show, podcast, or book you're into right now that has nothing to do with politics or journalism?
Yeah, and I deeply respect The Pit. My wife can't watch The Pit because it's too much blood.
I just heard
I'm
this. So this is
I'm
on
good
my
with it.
list to watch because everyone's raving about it, but I don't do well with gore. I heard it's pretty gruesome.
Oh, you need a strong stomach, but if you
Ooh.
get there, it's worth it. It's hard to get there.
All right. Do you have any relation to Seth MacFarlane?
No, but Senator, you'll appreciate this. Th I've been called Seth MacFarlane on the CBS Evening News by the anchor people 5 times over
Bye.
over 5 years. 5 times. and it's in
Senator,
the teleprompter. It says Scott in
well,
large block lettering.
I actually I checked so many times when I was writing everything out for this episode because on one of my Google searches as I was prepping, I did write Seth and not Scott. So I went back and checked him out. Do you know who Seth MacFarlane is, Senator?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, well, yeah, he's a late night host, right?
Well, no, he's a comedian. He's sort of Family Guy.
His shows air late at night. He's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
He's on.
Okay, but Scott, can you sing like Seth MacFarlane? That's my last question for you.
Not at all. But
Okay.
I'll tell you, I knew I'd made it at CBS News when the time arrived where the anchor apologized for calling me Seth. That's when I knew I'd finally made the cut and I'd passed the initiation.
I got one more for you.
Go ahead.
Of all the time that you worked either as a staff member or as a reporter, what House or Senate member did you respect the most?
Oh.
Can I give you one from each party just because I want to be bipartisan here?
Absolutely.
I thought Sherrod Brown was the model of a Midwestern Democrat, and I'm really watching his race this year to see he gets back. He understood parochial legislating. We would do national interviews with him. We would never get through a national interview without him shouting out Steubenville, Dayton, Lima, Findlay. He knew every business in the state. He knew the state equally. And I think that's part of Ohio politics. It's such a decentralized, multi-city state. He was Ohio to the core. I'm fascinated to see if he gets back, and he'd be very interesting to cover if he does. Republicans, they're a different breed at this moment in time. So let me go back in the day. I enjoyed covering the Michigan Republican congressional delegation because they were so devoted to auto. They knew the auto workers and the auto industry were the lifeblood, and they would come here and champion that. Guys like Dave Camp, Candace Miller, the team in Michigan, they bridged their gaps to talk about the lifeblood of their state, and I don't know if we do that anymore here.
Oh, well, Scott, I had to make sure I didn't say Seth. Scott.
See?
See, I know, now it's in my head.
Can I get one quick question in? I'm sorry, I know you're late on time.
No, we're fine.
How
It's
the
you I'm
hell
worried
do
about.
you retail door knock politics in a state as big as Montana? I mean, you
Oof.
said that's what you gotta do. That's fine in Connecticut. How do you do that?
Well, I think you look for groups or you make your own groups, and you get people together. And let me tell you something. If you stop in Sydney, Montana, population probably 5,000 people. Don't hold me to that. Um, you stop there and you do a town hall, or you meet with the local Rotary Club. Everybody in town is going to know you're there, and everybody in town is going to know what you said. And that's how you do it. You treat every town like it's a door, like it's a house, and you just stop and visit with folks. And sometimes if you're running for office, the campaign has to set them up to invite people to come, and not you can't come by invitation only. That's phony as hell.
Yeah.
Open it up so people can come see your local grocery store and your local farmer and the guy that's working a backhoe. They can all show up, and don't do it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Do it in the evening so people can show up. And the rest of the time, go ahead and do what you got to do. But try to get around. It's a big state. There's no doubt about that. It is incredibly debilitating, and it's one of the problems that Cummins are going to have this year. Maybe is a problem that I had is the longer you've been there, you end up with a chairmanship. Sometimes you end up with a couple. I had the chairmanship of a subcommittee on defense approps and the chairmanship on vets. That starts taking time away from your ability to go around the state. And in a state like Montana, and I'm not so sure it isn't the same with smaller states too, time is money, man. Time is where it's at. And if you don't have the time, it puts you at risk of being defeated.
Have you
Appreciate you.
been here? Have you been here, Scott?
No, I'm gonna come to get the T-shirt from the senator, so I'll come by.
Well,
Make that
we would
happen.
love to have you. Bring your family. We can coordinate, some tractor time out with Tester's farm. We can coordinate some fishing, some hiking, whatever you wanna do. We'd love to show you Montana.
Marine
This was
will teach you how to fly fish. Not very well. She'll teach you how to fly.
I'll
I'll
see
teach
you
you how to
guys
fly a
at
rug.
I'll see you guys at a future happy hour right here at this bar. We'll do it later this month.
What's the
Okay.
name of the bar? What's the name of the bar?
Oh, see that's a good point. I got to name the bar now. Thank you. Before we do the show, I'll have the bar named and we'll get after it.
Okay.
Wonderful. Because, technology and such, this did not go out to your Substack live, but I want everybody listening and watching, whether it's live or later, go check out Scott's Substack and his channel. He's working for Midas Touch too. He's one of their correspondents, and so just continuing to do amazing work. And we're just so grateful for you. And I'm so glad that you're in this new frontier with us.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
And
All right.
Seth from
Oh, so you said Seth, and his
Scott.
name is Scott.
I was gonna talk some shit about being
Oh,
Seth MacFarlane, but that's okay. That's
you
all
did
right.
it on
He
purpose.
cut it off right away. Now I think that he thinks he's Seth, you know?
He cut himself off. He left. I didn't even touch it.
That's the way it goes. Okay.
I
I'm
did it.
I'm being accusatory of you, and I should know you never, ever, ever, ever cut me off.
No,
I
I
keep
do.
talking all sorts of stuff, and you never say, "Shut the hell up." But that's okay. We appreciate it.
I do have a bad habit of hanging up the phone too soon. I do that all the time. That's
Harry
it.
Reid used to do that without saying goodbye. You'd be talking along, and pretty soon you'd
Harry Reid would do that?
have an empty phone line. Yeah, he was notorious for doing that. He'd make his points, and then you go ahead and talk all you want. He hung up, and he wouldn't.
Honestly, I think it's like this Midwest thing. There's a Midwest goodbye where the Midwest goodbye takes an hour. So first you gotta be like, "Well," and you put your hands on your lap and you stand up, and then you do the kitchen goodbye, and then you do the front door goodbye, and then you do the driveway goodbye, and I think I don't wanna waste anyone's time, so I'm like, "Okay, bye," and then I hang up, and I don't wait for them to respond, and I get a lot of hell for it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right up front that I didn't take my phone off the hook, and I want you to notice it didn't ring once. So that's what happens when you do it early in the morning. People ain't out of bed yet.
Yeah, but I have people who are writing me threatening to call you on purpose when we're live.
Yeah, well, that's good. We're friends for, right?
What are friends? And I said, well, this could be a segment. Like, who's calling? And we could actually, without you knowing, I could coordinate like people to call you. And it's like, who's on the phone? I think that might be actually a funny segment.
That's
Because your phone rings anyway. Might as well make it fun.
might as well.
All right. Any final thoughts before we?
No, just that Seth MacFarlane is an
Yeah.
amazing. God damn it! Now you got me doing it. Now you got me doing it. Why did you even bring up Seth MacFarlane, huh? Why did you even bring him up?
Because I didn't think they were related, but maybe cousins. Their name is spelled the same, and they both have this voice and this kind of
That's true. He's
command, and so that's I thought I'd ask. But yeah, now we're all mixed up. It's
now
Scott.
I'm more screwed up than I was before I started. But Scott MacFarlane is incredible journalist and an amazing person that I think is going to have incredible success in independent media. That's my perspective, but I think he will, just because he's straight shooter, isn't afraid to tell it like it is, and I think he's going to have one hell of a following if he doesn't already.
He already does, and keep it up. I mean, this really is I think I do think there are some things to figure out here. I had someone even write me just this weekend, like, there's so many places to subscribe, and I think we need to figure out some umbrella systems and our own kind of network so that, people can
I agree.
access it better, but, it really is incredible, like,
Yeah,
the
no,
amount of talent in this space.
yeah, I agree. I think it needs to be something like you get with your satellite programs where you might have 30, 40 channels and you might be watching two of them, but you subscribe, you get them all. And then if you want to get MLB, you have to pay extra. And we're the MLB, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, that's because you have a baseball bat in the corner, which somebody's asking about in the comments. I wanna know why that's back there.
Well, it's because it's a Major League Baseball bat.
Is it?
Yeah,
You
it
just
is.
have it hanging out on the floor? You don't have it hung
I
up,
don't
or
know what else to do with it. I mean, I put it in my gun rack, but it's full of guns, so I can't do that.
Alright. Uh, your hat. Your hat. Tell me
Yeah, I grabbed this. It was part of the pile. I don't even know if these guys are still in business.
Oh,
Cable Technology Inc. But it's a great hat because it's a cloth hat. It just fits, and the the brim is bowed so I can get my head in the mailbox. It
um, so wait, is that embroidered? Is the state
yeah, yes it
embroidered?
is. Yes,
It's
it is.
really
Oh,
nice embroidery.
yeah, see,
Um,
it's
this is
embroidered.
I'm looking at this. I don't know if it's still in I don't know. They were a Kalispell-based electronics assembly company and expanded to Great Falls in the 2000s. Oh, it was acquired in 2008. So maybe not, but hey, that's retro now.
That's it. That's it. It's pretty
That's it.
cool. It's a
All right.
great fitting hat. Some hats you put on, they're kind of stiff and they don't feel good. This is not a hat that I've worn a lot. It fits.
And it matches all of your shirts you have on.
You know, Jesus. All right.
Give us a quick I know you're gonna go get on the tractor, give us a quick farm update. Where you at? How's the seeding going? Any progress updates?
No, weird thing happened when I folded up the air seeder yesterday, but it won't happen again because I'll look for it. But it was a fluke thing; it'll never happen again. But ended up cutting the cable to my seed monitor, which means we've got to we'll fix that this morning before we go, which isn't a huge deal, but still a pain in the ass.
How much more seeding do you have? When do you have any prediction on
We're almost. I'll be a little over half done today.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, that's the farm update. That's our update from here. We want to thank you so much for joining us. We want to thank Scott MacFarlane for joining us.
So with two T's or one?
Two T's.
Two T's. Scott with two T's.
Really just an incredible, incredible journalist. I have appreciated his work so much. So go check him out, go subscribe, follow along. He's kind of, again, newish to the space, but really a rising star here quickly because his
And
star.
we'll look forward to the name of his bar.
Yeah, we'll check out the name of his bar for sure when we go on. We would love it if you would also subscribe to us if you're not subscribed. We want to thank Pearl Jam for letting us use your music. We want to thank all of you for listening, whether it's live or later on at the recording. You can find us on Substack, Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube, and you can send us an email anytime at groundedpcast@gmail.com. Anything else I missed, Senator?
That's the full load. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great week.
Have a great week.
Tally ho.